They came for me, my nightmare as a legal American citizen, detained by ICE. I need to share something that happened to me. Something that has shaken me to my core, and honestly, I'm still trying to process it. I'm a legal American citizen, born and raised in Chicago. I pay my taxes. I work hard as a software developer. I contribute to my community by volunteering at the local animal shelter. I've never been in trouble with the law, not even a speeding ticket in years. Yet, today, I experienced something that I only ever thought happened to other people. Something I read about in the news and felt sympathy for, but never imagined would become my reality. I was detained by ICE. So today, around 11:30 a.m., I was grabbing a quick coffee and a bagel at a deli near my office. Everything was normal. Mundane even. I was just going about my day, in my normal routine. A place I've always felt safe in. A place I've called home for almost 15 years. Suddenly, a dark gray SUV, the kind you see in government agency parking lots, pulled up beside me as I was walking out of the deli, coffee in hand. Two men in plain clothes got out. They weren't wearing uniforms, but they had these jackets, dark blue, with large, bold letters on the back, ICE. My heart did a weird flip in my chest. ICE? Here? For me? It felt surreal, like a scene from a movie, not my actual life. "Excuse me, sir," one of them said, his voice firm. "No nonsense. We need to ask you a few questions." I stopped what I was doing, a little confused, a little wary. "Questions about what?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though I could feel a nervous tremor starting in my hands. "Immigration," the other agent stated, his gaze fixed on me. "We need to verify your status in this country." My blood ran cold. "My status? I'm a citizen," I said, maybe a little too quickly. "I was born here." They didn't react, didn't soften their expressions. "Can we see your ID, please?" the first agent asked, his hand outstretched. I reached for my wallet, my fingers fumbling slightly. I pulled out my driver's license and handed it to him. He examined it, his eyes scanning back and forth between the card and my face. His partner stood beside him, arms crossed, watching me intently. "David Chen," he read aloud, then looked at me again. A flicker of doubt in his eyes, or maybe it was just my anxiety projecting onto his face. "And your place of birth is listed as Illinois." "Yes," I confirmed, relief starting to bubble up. "See, I told you, I'm a citizen." I even managed a weak, nervous chuckle. But the relief was premature. The agent didn't hand back my license. Instead, he said, "This just tells us where you got your driver's license. It doesn't prove citizenship. Do you have anything else? A birth certificate? A passport?" Panic started to set in. "No, I don't carry those around with me," I said, my voice rising slightly. "Who does? My driver's license is government-issued ID. Isn't that enough?" I was getting frustrated, scared, and honestly, a little angry. This was ridiculous. "For routine traffic stops, maybe," the agent said, his tone still flat, professional, but unwavering. "But we need to verify your immigration status. And right now, we need to ask you some more questions at our office." "Your office?" I repeated, incredulous. "Are you serious? I haven't done anything wrong. I'm an American citizen." "We understand you're saying that, sir," the other agent interjected, "but we have to follow procedure. It will be easier if you cooperate." "Cooperate with what? Being treated like a criminal? For being a citizen?" My voice was definitely louder now, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. People were starting to stare. I could see them slowing down as they walked past, their eyes wide with curiosity and something else. Fear? Discomfort? I couldn't tell, but I hated it. I hated being a spectacle. "Sir, please lower your voice," the first agent said, taking a step closer. "We don't want to cause a scene. If you cooperate, this can be resolved quickly." "Resolved quickly? By you taking me to your office because you don't believe I'm American?" I was beyond disbelief now. I was insulted. "This is insane. Look at me. I speak English. I have an American name. What more do you want?" And then, it happened. The first agent reached out and put a hand on my arm. "Sir, you're being detained. Please, come with us." Detained. The word hit me like a physical blow. Detained. Like I was some kind of illegal alien? The term felt ugly and foreign in my mind, but that's what they were implying, wasn't it? That I didn't belong here, in my own country. Detained? On what grounds? I demanded, trying to pull my arm away, but his grip tightened. "For questioning regarding your immigration status," he stated, his voice leaving no room for argument. The other agent moved in, flanking my other side. I was boxed in, surrounded. "I'm not going anywhere with you," I said, planting my feet, suddenly feeling a surge of defiance mixed with terror. "I know my rights. You can't just detain me for no reason." "Sir, you're obstructing a federal investigation," the first agent said, his voice hardening. "If you resist, we will have to use force." Force? They were going to use force on me? A law-abiding citizen? In broad daylight? It was like something out of a dystopian novel, not real life. But the look in their eyes was real. Their grip on my arms was real. The fear constricting my chest was terrifyingly real. And then it all happened so fast. Suddenly they were escorting me, practically dragging me towards their SUV. I was protesting, yelling, telling them they were making a mistake, that I was a citizen. But my words seemed to vanish into the air, unheard, unheeded. They pushed me into the back of the dark gray SUV. No handcuffs, not yet, but the implication was clear. I was in custody. As they drove off, I looked out the window, seeing the familiar streets of my neighborhood blurring past, feeling a sense of unreality wash over me. Was this really happening? Was this America? The ride to the ICE processing center was a blur of anxiety and disbelief. I sat in the back of the SUV, sandwiched between the two agents, feeling the weight of their suspicion, their authority, pressing down on me. I tried to reason with them, to explain again and again that they had made a mistake, that I was a citizen, but they remained impassive, stone-faced. "We're just following orders, sir," was all they would say. When we arrived at the processing center, it was like stepping into another world. Sterile, cold, impersonal. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a harsh glare on the linoleum floors and the pale walls. The air was thick with a mixture of anxiety and resignation. Other people were there, sitting on benches, looking lost and scared, speaking in hushed tones and languages I didn't understand. It was a scene of quiet desperation. They took me through a series of procedures, each one chipping away at my sense of self, my identity as an American. Fingerprinting, photographing, questioning. More questions about where I was born, where my parents were born, where I went to school, my employment history. It felt like an interrogation, not an attempt to clear up a misunderstanding. I kept asking to speak to a supervisor, to a lawyer, to anyone who would listen to reason, but my requests were brushed aside. "Procedure, sir. Just procedure." That word, procedure, became a mocking echo in my mind. Procedure over people? Procedure over the truth. They took away my personal belongings, my wallet, my phone, my keys. I felt stripped bare, reduced to nothing more than a case number. I was placed in a holding room with other detainees. It was crowded, uncomfortable, and the air was thick with unspoken fear and uncertainty. Hours crawled by. Hours of sitting on a hard plastic chair, listening to the murmur of voices around me, the clanging of metal doors, the distant sounds of officialdom. Hours of replaying the encounter in my mind, trying to understand how this could have happened, what I could have done differently. Hours of growing anger, frustration, and a gnawing sense of injustice. I tried to strike up conversations with the other detainees, hoping to find some common ground, some solace in shared experience. But language barriers and the general atmosphere of apprehension made it difficult. Most people kept to themselves, lost in their own thoughts, their own fears. The food they gave us was meager and unappetizing. A cold turkey and Swiss on white bread, a small carton of 2% milk, a bag of generic potato chips. It felt symbolic of the dehumanizing process I was being subjected to. I wasn't hungry anyway. My stomach was churning with anxiety. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, but was probably only about 8 hours, my name was called. I was led to a different office, a slightly less sterile-looking room with a desk and a computer. A different agent, this one in uniform, was waiting for me. "Mr. Chen," he said, looking at a file on his desk, "there seems to be a discrepancy." Discrepancy? That was an understatement. A discrepancy? I repeated, my voice hoarse from disuse and emotion. I was illegally detained. You people snatched me off the street for being a citizen. He held up a hand, a placating gesture. "Please, sir, let me explain. It appears there was a misidentification. There's another individual with a similar name and similar physical description who is currently under a deportation order. Our agents were acting on information." "Acting on information," I scoffed. "Based on what? The color of my skin? My last name?" I was losing my patience, my ability to stay calm. He shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "We apologize for the inconvenience, Mr. Chen. We are processing your release now. You are free to go." "Free to go?" I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "After hours of being illegally detained, treated like a criminal, you just say, 'Oops, sorry, you're free to go'? What about the humiliation, the fear, the trauma you put me through? What am I going to tell my boss about missing work today? What am I going to tell my wife? I was supposed to be home hours ago. She must be worried sick by now. And you just say, 'Oops'?" He avoided my gaze, focusing on the papers in front of him. "We will investigate the incident, Mr. Chen. We assure you, this is not standard procedure." "Not standard procedure?" I repeated, my voice rising again. "Then what is standard procedure? Rounding up citizens based on flimsy information and holding them for hours? Is that what America has become?" He didn't answer. He just kept shuffling papers, avoiding eye contact. Within a few minutes, they returned my belongings and led me out of the processing center. It was around 7:30 p.m. when I walked out into the early evening air, blinking in the sudden brightness, feeling disoriented, numb. I was free, physically, but I didn't feel free. I felt violated, betrayed, and deeply shaken. The experience had stripped away my sense of security, my faith in the system, my belief that as an American citizen, I was protected, that this kind of thing couldn't happen to me. I got home, showered, and sat down, trying to make sense of it all. My hands were still trembling, my heart was still racing. I kept replaying the events in my mind, searching for answers, for explanations, but all I felt was a deep, unsettling sense of unease. My wife kept asking me why I was home so late and why I'm so shaken. But I just can't tell her everything right now. I need to process this before I break down. I know I'm not the only one this has happened to. I've read stories, heard whispers about legal citizens, especially people of color, being targeted by ICE, being wrongly detained simply because of how they look or their names or where their families come from. But experiencing it firsthand is a different level of reality. It's terrifying, it's dehumanizing, and it's happening in America. I'm sharing my story because I need to process it, to make sense of it, and maybe to connect with others who have gone through something similar. Have you had a similar experience? What did you do? How did you cope? What are my rights? What should I do next? I feel lost, angry, and afraid. This isn't the America I thought I knew.